There may have been a couple of slaves in there. May have been merchants, doctors, lawyers. Didn't matter. Leprosy was a great equalizer. Once you got it, you were all the same. No hierarchy in leper colonies. You were all lepers. A terrible, awful thing. Leprosy didn't end when they found out about bacteria, when they found out about antibiotics, when they came up with a cure for Hansen's disease. Because leprosy was never just about a particular disease. Leprosy has always existed. Social leprosy, spiritual leprosy. There have always been people who have been pushed off to the side. There have always been people who have been shunned. There have always been the wrong people, people you didn't associate with. Now, we always look at us and them, and we think we're not those people, but sometimes we are. How many of you, especially those of you who are a little bit older, grew up in a time when Catholics were lepers? I know many people, well, this is true certainly on the East Coast where I grew up. I'm not quite sure about Michigan, but certainly on the East Coast where I grew up. When my grandfather came over from Italy, no Catholics need apply. No Catholics can live in this neighborhood. No Irish need apply. Ask Father G about that. His parents went through that. No Italians need apply. My grandfather, when my grandfather came over from Italy, he was a very skilled tailor. He could not get a job in New York as a tailor because he was Italian. Ended up in the construction business because that's what Italians did. Had a good life out of it, enjoyed it, but he could not do what he was trained to do in Italy because he was Italian, didn't speak English. And in New York at that time, you couldn't be a tailor. No Italians need apply. Those of you in the congregation who are African Americans, maybe not even your family, maybe many of you may have experienced. Those of you who are of Hispanic background may have experienced that same exact form of leprosy. Whites only. Anglos only. No blacks need apply. English spoken only here. It continues on to today. And I can go down through society and list all the lepers we have in our society today. It continues. But the good news today, there's always got to be good news. I'm standing here saying all these awful things, but there is good news. The good news is God doesn't care. God doesn't care about leprosy. God welcomes the lepers. God heals the lepers. When Jesus met those 12 lepers, several things in the gospel are important. One, he's in Samaria. Jews didn't go to Samaria. The Jews hated the Samaritans. They avoided Samaria like the plague, like lepers. So this poor Samaritan, even after he was healed, was still in a bad state because he was a Samaritan. So Jesus is in Samaria. Secondly, Jesus didn't run away from the lepers, and they knew that. Even though they stood at a distance, they still approached him. And Jesus didn't ask them, okay, which of you lepers are Jews? Which of you are worthy? Which of you have done the right things? Which of you are rich? Which of you, Jesus just said, go, you're healed. Didn't ask questions. Didn't want to see ID cards. Didn't want to see worthiness certificates. He just said, you're healed. Go. Do what's right. Show yourselves to the priest. Be healed. Jesus never, ever turned someone away who needed healing or forgiveness. Jesus welcomed everyone. In fact, that's what Jesus was criticized for. Why does your master eat with tax collectors and sinners? Doesn't he know who he's eating with? And Jesus said, where else am I supposed to be? Wonderful I'm teaching a course right now on Firefly, Joss Whedon's science fiction series that was on Fox many years ago. And I'm teaching on the spirituality of it, and I'm using the character of Shepherd Book. Shepherd Book, played by the wonderful actor Ron Glass, is a minister, a preacher. So here you have this futuristic, scientific, Western pirate movie where one of the serious characters is a preacher who's not treated like an idiot, who's not treated like some pious nonsense, but he's a real, viable character. And at one point, he's sitting in Inara's room. And Inara is, how shall I put that nicely for a mixed company and on television? She's a companion, an official companion. And he's sitting there, almost in tears, and he says to Inara, I don't know what's happened to me. I've been out of the monastery 2 days. I've killed a man. I've allowed a man to be shot who I'm supposed to be protecting, and I've fallen in among thieves. I don't think I'm in the right place. And Inara just looks at him and says, no, Shepherd, I think you're in just exactly the right place. That's where Jesus was. Jesus was among the companions. Jesus was among the lepers, among the criminals, among all of those people that the upright and righteous were searching after to get rid of. That's the good news. Jesus heals us. Jesus offers us care. Jesus offers us forgiveness. And it doesn't matter who we are. That's the good news. But there's a catch to that good news. And the catch is very simple. As we have been healed by Jesus, we are to heal others. And if Jesus healed us and did not pay any attention to who we are called to heal others and not pay any attention to who they are. That's the good news. All of us are welcome. All of us are healed. All of us are called to heal every one of us. As I look at that window, sometimes I feel like I'm that guy sitting up all by myself on the steps. But yet, in my heart of hearts, I know if I step down from those steps, if I walk into that circle with Jesus, that as he is laying hands on that young girl to heal her, he will lay hands on me and he will heal me.